Hello, I'm Sreyansh, a cloud support engineer here at the AWS office in Cape Town, South Africa. Today I'm going to show you how to troubleshoot Border Gateway Protocol connection issues when using AWS Direct Connect. Let's get started. AWS Direct Connect is a networking service that allows you to connect your AWS resources directly over a dedicated connection, bypassing the public internet. Direct Connect uses BGP to exchange and influence routes between AWS and your devices. To successfully establish a BGP session, you must be sure that the Direct Connect link status is up and there is connectivity between the AWS end and remote end BGP peers. If you have a dedicated or hosted Direct Connect connection, then follow these steps to check the connection status. Log into the AWS Management Console and then navigate to the Direct Connect console. On the Connections page, select Monitoring tab. Verify that the connection state metric has the value of 1. Next, to validate connectivity between the BGP peers, we must make sure that the VLAN specified on the virtual interface over the Direct Connect connection is configured identically on the remote device. To check virtual interface configuration, follow these steps. Navigate to the Virtual Interfaces page and choose the desired virtual interface ID. The state must be available to indicate that the AWS end is successfully configured with the following parameters and values shown on the page. Check the value under VLAN section and compare it with the remote device. For this demonstration, I'll be using a Cisco device to show the VLAN configuration. If there are intermediate L2 devices, make sure that the same VLAN is carried across to the AWS end of the connection. Note, the AWS peer will accept only those frames that are tagged with this VLAN ID. Any frames tagged with different VLAN number or that are completely untagged will be discarded. Verify Layer 3 connectivity using ping for reachability between your device and the AWS peer IP address. Let's perform a ping test from the Cisco device. From the Virtual Interfaces page, we can verify the peer IP addresses, BGP MD5 authentication key, and the ASN of both peers. These values must be configured accordingly on the remote device. There are example configurations for multiple vendor devices available to download from the console. To do that, choose the Actions drop-down list and then choose Sample Configuration. Select the most relevant values from the vendor, platform, and software lists. Choose Download to download the file for reference. For example, let's look at a Cisco 2900 series router with iOS version 12.4 and higher. The configuration contains every CLI command required to configure the remote device, such as the VLAN encapsulation on the interface connecting to AWS peer, the BGP configuration with AS number, and the MD5 password. Note, the example configurations might not be available for all the vendor devices and models. For such cases, use these examples as references and modify them as necessary. Here are some additional points to keep in mind when troubleshooting BGP over a Direct Connect. Verify that the Direct Connect router or any other intermediate device isn't blocking ingress or egress from TCP port 179 and other appropriate ephemeral ports. The BGP peers must be only one hop away from each other. If there are multiple layer 3 hops between AWS and remote peer, then the BGP session will not come up because eBGP multi-hop is disabled at the AWS end. For private and transit virtual interfaces, the maximum number of prefixes accepted by AWS from the remote peer must not exceed 100. If it does, then the BGP peer transitions to idle state. You can reduce the number of prefixes by summarizing the routes or by advertising a default route towards the AWS BGP peer. For a public virtual interface, the BGP peer's public IP address must be from the CIDR that's verified and approved by AWS after the WIF was provisioned. Also, the number of advertised prefixes must not exceed 1000. If all these parameters are verified and the BGP still does not come up, consider the following advanced troubleshooting steps. Check the BGP logs for error messages, codes, and subcodes. Collect and analyze the BGP debugging logs from the remote device. Analyze BGP messages from packet captures. Let's look at an example packet capture showing BGP message exchanges between two peers filtered on TCP 179 and peer IP addresses. Here, you can see all the standard BGP messages exchanged between peers such as open messages and keep alive messages. And now you know how to troubleshoot BGP related connection issues when using AWS Direct Connect. Thanks for watching and happy cloud computing from all of us here at AWS.